Hello, good people. This is a guy, Mr. Educator, Mr. Communicator, Mr. Free Thinker, coming back at you live once again from the Lone Star State with another edition of the Media Mike Speaks. All right, good people, I want to make this my last video regarding Miss Richardson, but this is not just about her on this one. This is about the real issue regarding this marijuana deal. So I would have loved to watch Miss Richardson, the fastest woman in the United States, go up against the fastest woman in the world. So I wanted to see that matchup, but it doesn't appear it's going to be so. So what I wanted to talk to you about is the real issue here regarding what's going on, good people. Because I think we got caught up in the hype of Miss Richardson missing the Olympics. So I wanted to talk to you and bring to you what this is really all about and what, they're using her for. So anyway, let's get started here. As you see here in the thumbnail, it's Biden's marijuana policy that's all wrapped up into this. So advocates for marijuana legalization are expressing disappointment and frustration with the Biden administration's response to Sha'Carri Richardson's disqualification from the Tokyo Olympic Games, which they say highlights the White House's refusal to move forward on cannabis policy. Now you see, they're using her story to push the legalization of marijuana, which is legal in certain states. We'll talk about that. Now, Richardson, a top U.S. track and field star, will not be competing in the Olympics later this summer after testing positive for marijuana, which is a banned substance according to both U.S. and international anti-doping agencies. The suspension for a drug that in no way improved her competitive ability was acknowledged as disappointing by President Biden, but he did not take as strong a stance as marijuana advocate and Richardson supporters had been hoping for. And he's not. I'm going to tell you why. Now, Mr. Biden, President Biden, goes on to quote, "The rules are the rules, and everybody knows what the rules were going in." Yes, it did. Whether they should remain the rules is a different issue, but the rules are the rules, he quotes. Now, Biden said Saturday, adding that he was really proud of the way she responded. Okay, we got that, but we're going to get to what this is really all about. Now, before Richardson's suspension, the White House last discussed the topic at length back in April, when Press Secretary Jen Psaki had held back from any firm commitment that Biden would legalize marijuana if a bill to that effect appeared able to pass in Congress, which is not. Now, he quotes, he wants to decriminalize, but again, he'll look at the research of the positive and negative impacts. Psaki said he wants to decriminalize it. Trust me, he's not. Now, she reiterated Biden's position that the drug should be decriminalized and reclassified, and that prior criminal records and offenses involving marijuana should be expunged. In response, the National Organization for the Reform of Marijuana Laws called Biden's strategy impractical at best and disingenuous at worst, in part because of the group argues that it would do little to harmonize state and federal marijuana laws because it is still illegal under the federal government. This is where we're going. I'm about to get to it here. So here it is. Joe Biden, quote, he says here, this is Mr. Ortiz say, Joe Biden made it clear that they were not going to hire or allow folks who failed a cannabis test to work at the White House. Let me read that to you again. Joe Biden made it clear that they were not going to hire or allow folks who failed a cannabis test to work at the White House. There it is. The President of the United States, good people, represents the federal government. Marijuana is still illegal under federal laws. If you're going to have people working in the White House, they cannot be using marijuana. Now, that was very clear at the beginning of his term and sent a signal to the rest of the federal government that We are not going to progress our cannabis policies, unquote. Okay. Now you see here, but that's my stance on he's not going to do anything about this. But now individuals are using Ms. Richardson to fund their own agenda. Now, while President Biden has issued an executive order to advance racial equity through every aspect of government, this administration continues to turn a blind eye to the criminalization of marijuana, which is the most commonly used justification for law enforcement to stop American citizens. There you go, too. As the data clearly shows, this tool of oppression is most often wielded against young men of color, according to Streekel, citing an ACLU report. The Richardson suspension has already sparked some change. On Wednesday, the Nevada Athletic Commission said it would no longer ban athletes for the use of or possession of cannabis. That is in Nevada sports. We're talking about the Olympics here. Now, polling shows that roughly 2/3 of Americans support marijuana legalization, including majority battleground states where it remains illegal, like Florida, Pennsylvania, and Texas. So, yeah, of course so. Now, many of the activists interviewed praised the work of Senator Cory Booker of New Jersey and Ron Wyden of Oregon, Democrat, as well as numerous lawmakers in the House. When asked what the Biden administration could do without approval of Congress, some activists suggested changes could be made to federal contracts that require drug testing. That's not going to happen. They also said the White House could reinstate the cold memo, a 2013 Justice Department recommendation not to pursue federal prosecution, here we go, of marijuana crimes in states where it is legalized. The memo was rescinded by the Trump administration in 2018. But with both the White House and Congress looking increasingly unlikely ever to make legalization a priority, Slice said he wasn't optimistic about any real movement at the federal level soon, because they're not going to do it. I just told you. Now, individuals using Richardson's story to push the legalization agenda. That's what they want. But this is going to fall on deaf ears. The president represents the federal government. He's not going to allow that to be legalized when he just made it very clear to work at the White House. You can't have that. You see, to decriminalize it on the federal side will most likely decrease federal funding for law enforcement. Look at the big picture, good people. Look, it's bigger than Sha'Carri. This is what this is all about. They're using her for the states to push it more to be legalized. And they want Biden to give the go-ahead, and therefore it would drop it being illegal in the federal government standard. That's what they're trying to do. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. Too much money involved. Too much money involved. You know what happened to Biden's famous line of, if you don't vote for me, then you ain't black? The quote. Well, I guess for those who did, may feel that they just got stabbed right in the back. You see, when it comes to shaking the marijuana tree, it is the land of opportunity, but not always the land of the free. This is your guy, Mr. Educator, Mr. Communicator, Mr. Free Thinker. Subscribe, share, and like to keep me rocking on the mic. Have a good night.